Good morning, everybody. Welcome today to this digital forum, number 23. Can you believe? We've been going with digital forums for 4 years now, and yeah, I think they work wonderfully, complementing our physical forums. So yeah, welcome today. Hopefully you've all got your coffee or tea. I've certainly got mine and ready for the agenda that we have for you today. I'm Natalie Bungay. I'm going to be your host today, so keeping everybody in line and hopefully getting some good Q&As in there as well at the end of each presentation. But again, welcome. I'm pleased to also welcome Syngenta today as our sponsors, who are going to be kicking us off just after I've done some introductions. Richard Moseley is going to be talking about the power of indoxacarb. But yeah, I'll come back to the agenda in just a moment. You should have all had it anyway, but I'll run through it just in a moment. But kicks us off. So today we've got 3 CPD points. You can watch all of the videos after the event as well. So what we'll do is we'll upload them all as individual videos. So anything you wanted to rewatch, you can go on our YouTube page. But also remember, if there's a few of you sat around watching this digital forum, of course, you may only have one registration. So make sure after the event, you'll get logged on to your CPD scheme and get those CPD points uploaded. Like I said, it's 3 points for the whole of the event today. So again, welcome. If you have any technical issues, hopefully you won't. This first part of the introductions is also an opportunity for us to iron out any possible technical issues with sound or video or anything like that. But if you do experience anything yourself, pop it in the chat section. There's a few of I can see are already put some bits in there, just saying hi from around the country. We've got Northern Ireland and Birmingham and London. We've probably got some, Wales as well. So yeah, welcome to everybody. We've got 129 and everyone's still joining. We're going up, so yeah, some great numbers. But if you do have any issues technical, put it in the chat section and my colleague Lauren will be able to hopefully give you some tips and tricks. But generally, it's turn it off and turn it on. usually works. But also, yeah, again, let us know where you're coming in from. Now, at the end of each presentation, as usual, we are going to have a Q&A session with the presenter. So get your questions in the Q&A section, not the chat area. If you do accidentally put it in there, don't worry, we'll keep an eye on it and advise you to put it in the Q&A. But once we start doing them, that's going to be the section we're going to be looking in. So whether you've got a laptop or you're on a tablet or maybe even on your phone, sat in your van, having some breakfast, it will be either the bottom of your screen or to the side of your screen. Okay, so chat section for technical issues and general hellos, and the Q&A section for questions to either myself, but also predominantly, hopefully, the presenters. Okay, as I said, at the end of each one, we'll go through those questions. We'll get to as many as we can. I want to encourage as many questions as possible. If we do start going over time a little bit, and then what I'll do is I'll ask the presenter just to go off the screen and type some answers for you. So I promise I will get to those questions as much as possible. If I have any that are relatively similar to each other, then I'll try and combine them so that we get as much covered as we possibly can in the time that we have. So great. Hopefully that's given you a bit of instruction on that. In terms of the agenda, so like I mentioned, we've got Richard Moseley from Syngenta, our sponsors, talking about the power of indoxacarb and how we can best utilise that in your work. After Richard, we've got Fred Herstall from Pest talking about the future of LED fly control. Certainly going to be the season for it coming up. All those EFK changes as well that you'll possibly be doing. We'll have a break, so at 10 to 11, we'll have a little comfort break and grab another coffee, a cup of tea, cold drink, whatever it is may be. So we'll do that for 10 minutes up until 11 a.m. And then we'll come back and we'll have Matthew Davis from Kilgem talking about silverfish. So yeah, I think we've had that subject for a while, so looking forward to that as well. And after Matthew, we've got Sean Loates from Secure Choice talking about digital pest management, certainly becoming a lot more prevalent in the industry, I think, these days. And so in the last 5 years, there's a lot more systems out there. So yeah, it'd be good to hear what Secure Choice has to offer the industry. And then to finish off at 12:15, we'll just have some association news and industry updates, which, as always, Always lots going on, and that'll be Ian, our CEO. We'll be talking to you about that, and we'll be finishing promptly at 12:30. Just a couple of mentions, some other events coming up. So I'm actually in Cardiff next week, 24th of April, doing a physical forum, which is great. These digital platforms are amazing, and we can get access to lots more people. There's 170 of you, but we also love doing the physical forums, which will Lauren and I will be there. So hopefully anybody listening from Wales, of which I can see there's a few, pop down. It's in Cardiff, so come and see us. On the 8th of May, I'm going to be doing a webinar on integrated insect management, and it's more around the prevention side of things. So covering the common insects that we might get in commercial and domestic properties, and talking about prevention. And then one more on the 15th of May in Chorley, Lancashire. We have a member event. It's a social event, pretty informal and relaxed. Any members can come along. It's 6:30 till 8:30, covering a beer, and do a bit of networking with us, and have a nice evening. So that's the 15th of May in Chorley. Great. Okay, I think we're all good. I can't see that there are any problems with sound or anything. So without further ado, if I can ask Richard to pop up and say hello, that would be amazing. There you are. How are you doing, Richard?
I'm very well. Good morning, everybody. How are you?
I think, well, it's sunny here today anyway, so I'm hoping it is for everybody else. So hopefully everyone's pretty happy. So welcome, Richard. Listen, I'll let you do your introductions and tell us about indoxacarb.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Nat. So good morning, everybody. Very pleased to be sponsoring this forum as Syngenta, and if I can get my presentation up, hopefully everybody can see that, and that's working efficiently, and hopefully that's okay, and everybody can see that. So so good morning, everybody. My name's Richard Moseley. I'm from Syngenta, Key Account Business Development Manager, and what I wanted to do this morning is just share some of our knowledge about Advian and indoxacarb with you, and give you some information about some recent trials that we've done, some recent work that we've done over the past 12 months. We've been very busy over the last 12 months relaunching the product and reviewing the product, and also doing some additional trial work with the product to try and give professional pest controllers the security and the knowledge that the product is efficient, it's effective, and ultimately it's of massive support to you when you're out there doing treatments to the likes of cockroaches and ants. So just moving on, I'll start very basically, and I do this for a reason. One is that I, as a professional pest controller, know that not all of us deal with cockroaches on a regular basis. So you may have heard of the product, but you don't quite know what it's for, or you may have come across the product, or you may not have used it for a number of years. So, just to give you some basic awareness, then we'll have a quick look at the target species, and then, like I said, we'll move on to some of that trial work that we've done, because one thing that we all need as professional pest controllers is a bit of proof and a bit of security that the product's going to do what it says on the tin. So we can show you how we try and assure you that is the case, and what you get is going to be highly beneficial to you as a business when it comes to treating certain target pests. So Advian itself is a professional pest control product, and it's manufactured by us, Syngenta, and you can only get it from us by Syngenta. The formulation itself comes in 2 varieties, and it kind of does what it says on the tin. So one is for controlling ants, and that's Advian ant, and one is for controlling cockroaches, and that's Advian cockroaches. Now, that sounds a bit basic, but if I was doing this presentation in somewhere like the Nordics, what I would also be saying is that Advian cockroach is suitable for silverfish work as well, because it has that registration on the license there, and that's something that we hope to achieve in the UK in due course, because this product will come through to re-registration. And when it comes through to re-registration, then we hope to see silverfish on the label as well. I can't give you a time frame on that, because that kind of sits with HSE, and it's in the re-registration program format. So it's difficult to give dates on that. But there's another important point there as well, that is that this product will be re-registered. So when we're talking about the Advian products, when we're talking about Advian ant and Advian gel, you can be assured that the actual practical application life of that product is going to be at least several years going forwards, because we know that the re-registration is in place. So this product isn't going to disappear off the market anytime soon, and we've put a lot of work into making sure that it's maintained on the UK and the European pest control market for some years to come. So you can have some assurance with the product that it's going to be there for some time. It's going to be there to support you as professional pest controllers for a number of years to come. The active ingredient in this product is indoxacarb, and indoxacarb is a very interesting active ingredient, and it's one of the things that we're going to touch on in this presentation. And it's one of the reasons that we come back as a team of Syngenta to look at this product and re-educate on this product, because it's probably slightly misunderstood about what indoxacarb does and how it works. And we feel that by just reinventing the product and bringing the product back to professional pest controllers, we can start to really emphasize the benefits of this particular active ingredient. You're only going to get indoxacarb via Syngenta, and it has these unique characteristics that make it incredibly beneficial from a service delivery point of view, and also a management and a control point of view as well. So just moving on, what are we talking about with the target species? So, cockroaches themselves, they are part of the target species, obviously, on Adrian cockroach. As I say, if we're in a different country, then we'd be talking about the silverfish as well. But just thinking about the cockroaches that we deal with as a species, so we know that they feed on a lot of human foods and also other aspects as well. And we know that obviously they're quite often feeding on unsavory things as well. So that means that we've got that possibility that they're going to transmit disease. The fact that they feed on each other is also beneficial when we go into a little bit further detail about this particular product and the way that it helps manage the control species. The target species, the key pieces, the pest species we know are regularly associated with man, and there's reports of them, feeding on, not just unsavory things, but also coming into close contact with man and causing real issues about where they are, what they're doing, and what they're feeding on. They're also gregarious, so that means that they're all going to be together in one place generally. Now, from a treatment point of view, that's good and bad, because it might mean that they're in all together in locations out of the way where we can't really get to them. So some more traditional treatment processes might be quite tricky. But from a baiting point of view, if you can use a product that has any kind of ongoing effect as it passes through the dead bodies of the cockroaches, that becomes incredibly beneficial, because we can't necessarily get to these harbourage points. They could be some meters away from the initial treatment area. So we have some benefits if we can use baits in these kind of locations. And we'll go into that in a little bit of detail as we move on. So yeah, cracks, crevices. If you work with cockroaches on a regular basis, you know this kind of information. But it does make them tricky to deal with, and it does make them tricky to treat. So, there's huge benefits with using certain bait formulations that give us a real chance of control in some quite difficult locations, in terms of some difficult situations. So the Advion cockroach gel itself is specifically formulated for the key species that we deal with in the UK. And, one thing to remember with the cockroach gel, if we consider what we've just said about the feeding nature and the fact that cockroaches will feed on almost anything, then your bait, your formulation has to compete with almost anything. So that means it has to be highly attractive. The base bait, the food quality in there has to be of the best standard if it's going to compete with everything else that the cockroach is going to come across. We want to be the number one thing that the cockroach heads for in the Advion formulation. So we have to bear that in mind with any formulation that we're using for cockroach work. So the three key species, they're on the label, and there's no problem with treating those with this product in the UK and further afield in Europe as well. So thinking about the other target species with the Advion product is ants. So thinking about ant biology, then they're a social insect. So again, they live in groups, slightly different groups than cockroaches, because we're talking nest systems generally rather than aggregation areas. And one of the important aspects of ant behavior regarding the use of baits is this trophallaxis. So that's the way that they transfer the bait back to the nest. So it's done in a different way than cockroaches. Cockroaches transfer it back to the harbourage point in their body, where ants will transfer it back, in one of their feeding stomachs, and they'll take it back to the nest to feed the rest of the nest. So this is the kind of the process where you get your bait back to these two key target species It's a different process, but the result is the same. It ends up back in the key areas where it needs to be, controlling the target species. And with ants, we could be looking at large colonies, millions of workers, and depending on the species, we could be talking one queen, or we could be talking many queens, Lasius neglectus. But also, if you deal with Pharaoh's ants, you know the complicated and the situation with things like budding and the problems that can give you there as well. Always remember that they're related to wasps and ants, wasps and bees. So, we associate quite complicated social structures with those insects. It's no different with ants. It's a very regulated, very organized system. We perhaps just don't get access to see the ant's nest perhaps as much as we do with wasps and bees. So we might forget that. But it's an incredibly complicated process, incredibly complicated structures, and very, very well socially organized. So, just to cover off the final of the ants, again, all of the key species are covered on the label, and several more as well that may or may not be of relevance to the UK, but we've got a whole host of ants that are covered on the current label of Advian ant. So I think as a professional pest controller, one of the messages that is that it's formulated to attract a wide number of species that might have slightly different feeding preferences at different times. So that means that the product itself is highly palatable to a number of species. So you can take a bit of security in that it's going to appeal to whatever species you're dealing with. It's been formulated with that species in mind. So just going back to the actual active ingredient itself. So we mentioned the active ingredient and, why is it unique? Why is it different? What does it bring us to the professional pest control operators that is unique compared to some of the other active ingredients that are available in the professional pest control market? So indoxacarb itself, non-repellent, it's an inactive mode of action, no cross-resistance, but this word bioactivation by the enzymes of the insect, that's the real interesting aspect of indoxacarb, and it does set itself aside from other active ingredients because of this. So what the bioactivation process means is that the actual active ingredient itself becomes active within the body of the insect. So just to run through that, so the insect will ingest, so be this the ant or the cockroach, they ingest the active ingredient, and it's only when the actual product itself comes into contact with the insect's enzymes in its gut and its digestive tract that actually there's a little bit of the molecule that's removed by the enzymes in the insect's body, and that's the point where it becomes an active ingredient. So that's quite interesting from a professional pest controller point of view, because it kind of puts another level of security in place when we're carrying out our treatments, that the actual active, it's what's termed as a pro-insecticide. So it becomes active within the body of the insect when it goes through this process. So from an application area point of view, it makes it quite beneficial for using in certain circumstances, because if it gets into the body of a non-target species, such as a pet, an animal, or even a human, it'll pass through the body and it'll be exploited, but it'll be removed by the body and it'll have no negative effect. So it's only designed to work within the body of the insect. Now, there's probably quite an important point to make here at this point about Advian, and it's that previously, one of the things that we've come across is that there's a feeling amongst professional pest controllers that actually this makes it an excellent product to use in sensitive areas. Advian is a perfect product to use in all areas. It's just got this added level of security when you're using it in some, what we perhaps term as sensitive areas or food industry areas, that kind of thing. But it doesn't mean it should only be used in these areas. What I'll show you through the trials that we've done and the tests that we've done is that it is an excellent product that should be used everywhere. But when you use it everywhere, you can be sure that you've just got another level of security around where you're using it and when you apply it. Now, one of the knock-on effects of this is that because the active ingredient, because the product has to go through a process within the insect, then it does take slightly longer to knock the insect down. Now, in some ways that can be seen as a negative, but actually we see that as incredibly positive, because when we've looked at the two species that we're dealing with, we've already said that whichever species it is, they have to transfer the bait back to wherever they are living, be it a nest or a harborage point, to get that bait back to the heart of the infestation. That slight delay in the product becoming active does allow us to get more active back into the ant nest, or be more active cockroaches. More cockroaches contain the active ingredient back to the harborage point. So the transfer is better, and we'll look at that in a little bit more detail later. But as I say, because of that bioactivation within the body of the insect, then there's a level of security. If the wrong animal gets in contact with it before the insect has a chance to eat it, then it will pass through that non-target species. So there's a level of security there that makes it a little bit more suitable for some treatment areas. But as I say, don't be pigeonholed by that. It's an excellent product in all areas. All we need to do is make sure that we use our same risk assessments, cost assessments, and everything. But there's an added level of security there that also benefits us when it comes to the actual treatment process, because of the delay that causes. Exactly the same in the answer to cockroaches. We've got this delay, it's activating in the insect, a level of security. That slight delay brings us a benefit to professional pest controls that we'll look at in a second. Now, that benefit that we're talking about, what we term it as is horizontal transfer, and then secondary and triple kill, because what those phrases are referring to is that secondary motion of the bait into the colony. And the way that it's done with our product is done via the insect, and it's done very, very efficiently and very, very successfully. So I suppose one of the first things that we talk about with any bait, and that's not unique to ours, is that there are always certain benefits with being able to use a bait, because it can be targeted. The location, if you need it, it can be removed from the treatment location. And if you're doing a spray, that's not necessarily the case. Things become a little bit more complicated with that. And also, as professional pest controllers who are working with insecticides on a regular basis, then one of the things that you might recognize is that a lot of insecticides are becoming indoor use only. So they're becoming more difficult and more problematic to use externally, especially as they go through your biocidal product regulations, or the UK version at the moment. What we have the ability to with certainly with the Advian bait is to be able to use that in and around buildings. And certainly with ant activity, just like rat activity, it's always easier if you can take the actual products closer to where the insects or the pests are coming from, because they've more chance of eating it, because they've less chance of coming across something else. So it does give us that ability to go in and around buildings. So it's a little bit more flexibility from a baiting point of view. If we need to remove it, we can do. And if we're really concerned, then we can put it in bait stations. Or, for example, if you're controlling ants, then we also supply the outcast ant station as well. So that can be used indoors and outdoors. So there's a lot of options there, just from the fact that we're using a bait formulation. But when we move on to this effective colony control, then what we're talking about is this movement of the product through the colony. And as I say, because of the way that the active ingredients performs in the body of the target species, then we do get this slight delay in mortality. And that slight delay in mortality allows us to move the product via the ant or via the cockroach into the actual colony itself. So with ants, what we talk about is horizontal transfer. The ants feed, they take it back, they feed it to the other members of the colony, and that's the way that we eradicate the colony. And that slight time delay is really, really beneficial, because it means that we've got ants making it back to the colony before they die, transmitting the bait back, and then we've got a far better chance of complete eradication, complete control of the colony. So that movement through the colony is really, really beneficial, and it's something that you get very, very efficiently with the Advian products, A, because of the active, B, because of that slight delay, because of the way that the active functions. So if you've seen anything of our new marketing, the new marketing that we're using at this moment in time, be it in the catalogues, be it at Pest a couple of weeks ago, be it on our website, then that this Meet Your New Employees hopefully starts to make a little bit of sense, because what we're saying is with the use of Advian gels, then what we can start to do is get the insects to do a lot of the work for us. You know, it's hard to find where they're coming from in some cases. They know where they're coming from. And if we use a product that transfers back via them, then they're doing the work for us. So with the use of a really intelligent and a really palatable bait formulation, Advian, we get the ability to make the insects do the work for us. So, you know, we, as professional pest controllers, you know, any support that we can get, anything that gives us the edge in the battle against insects is really, really beneficial. And we think that this process really, really supports us in this way. Now, when we look on to and move on to the cockroach treatments that we do with Advian, then we're getting a similar process, but it's a slightly different method, because obviously the ants aren't, the cockroaches aren't transmitting this back to the nesting area. They're actually transmitting it back to the harbourage area where all of the other cockroaches are living. And as we know, cockroaches go from an incomplete metamorphosis, so we get small, big, young, juvenile, adult cockroaches all together. So if we can get the bait into that location, then we can start to really control control the treatment, control the activity, and get a very, very efficient control measure. So as you can see through in the images there, you know, we start off with one cockroach eating, move it into the colony, and we get secondary kill. So that one cockroach is starting to knock down a second wave of cockroaches in the colony. What you get with Advian is what we term as tertiary or triple kill. So we don't just get it moving through the colony once, we get it moving through a second time as well. So once for the secondary kill, and then those insects that die via secondary kill will continue to kill other insects in the colony as well. So again, this delay process, really, really useful. And the actual way that it flows down through the colony is very, very useful. We can prove this triple kill. So some of the lab work that we've done shows that we get triple kill, and we know that we can keep the bait pushing down through the colony and continue to kill the colony and continue to kill the cockroaches at source via the other cockroaches that are killed by the formulation. And I can show that in a slightly different image as well, just to reinforce that. So as we can see, we introduce one cockroach into a population that's taken the bait. You can see 72 hours later, 38 of those cockroaches are already dead. If you remove those and move them into another area of cockroaches, then we keep that movement of the bait going through. So after another 72 hours, we've continued to move it through the population into a mixed population. So we're still killing insects long after that first contact with the cockroach, the initial cockroach itself. So as I say, this is charted, we've got evidence to do this, and we can claim this because we've got the lab data to support it. So important point, you know, it's not just where you put the bait, it's where the harbourage points are, and it's how we get that bait to the harbourage points. You've got an excellent chance of success with Advian if you use it in the right way to control these target species down at the harbourage points, deep into those cracks and crevices where could be several meters away from the actual treatment area that we're working on. You know, how do we get a product to those locations? By using the cockroaches and making the cockroaches almost practically an employee of the company. They're doing the work for us. We use an intelligent formulation, and it really supports us as professional pest controllers to get full eradication of in those difficult to treat locations that we work in. So with Advian cockroach, 41% more cockroaches secondary kill. No other product on the market has demonstrated this additional level, this tertiary, this triple kill. No one has shown this in the marketplace. So you know, the results are there to see, really, that you know, the secondary kill, the tertiary kill, it's incredibly important and incredibly efficient way for us to start to control cockroach activity. It's a slightly different way that we're doing it from the ants, but the principle and the result is still the same. It's eradication with a very, very intelligent formulation and a very, very, a very, very efficient product. So that's great. You know, so there's the information about how the active ingredient works, how baits are really, really useful because of where we can put them. But none of that matters. That clever engineering, that clever technology within the formulation doesn't really matter if they won't eat it. So, and what I want to do as a pest controller to other pest controllers is show that we've done as much as we possibly can to prove that not only will they eat it, they absolutely love it. So, all of last year, we went away and did a lot of work on this. We went back to the lab and tried to provide details and tried to provide evidence of where and how this product works and how we can prove it to you as the end user professional pest controller. So one of the places that we started is that, well, what's the worst case scenario? And the worst case scenario is that the Advian that we're using is 2 years old. Now, I don't mean it's 2 years old in the tube, and it's worth pointing out at this point that actually Advian cockroach has a 3-year shelf life. That's generally 12 months longer than you get with other products, and it's also for those of you that don't do cockroach activity on a very regular, on a very regular basis, there's a little bit of security there. But it also shows the strength of palatability within the formulation, that it's a 3-year formulation, so you can be assured that it's highly palatable, and it's also very, very stable. But no, this is 2-year-old Advian spots that were applied 2 years ago, because the feeling, and I know this as I've treated cockroaches in the past, and the feeling is that, well, once your bait's gone hard, it's no good, and you need to reapply. So we thought, well, is that the case? Can we show that it is or it isn't the case? And if it's not the case, just how palatable is this really, really old gel that was applied 2 years ago? Will cockroaches eat it? And not only will they eat it, is it competitive? So that's a trial that we started off. So this was done via our technical manager in Basel and by our technical team in Stein. And so we put little pieces of cockroach bait away for 2 years, and then we took it to the lab and trialed it. And this is the process that we went through. So we don't need to go into this in too much detail, but you can see that it's not just we put it in and see if they eat it. It's got competitive food sources, it's got competitor food sources, and and it's done over a period of time in scientific conditions to see just how palatable 2-year-old bait is. And we take a series of pictures over a number of time and repeat that several times, and what that does is gives us a ranking to see, will cockroaches even be interested in it, and if they are they more or less interested in it than a fresh competitor product? And the results of that work was that our 2-year-old Advian performs incredibly well when presented to cockroaches. So if it has gone dry and if it does look hard, that doesn't mean that the cockroaches won't eat Advian. We've got the trials, we've got the data, we've done the work to show that even if it's not as fresh as it should be, or if it's been down for a while, it is still highly palatable to cockroaches. So, we don't necessarily, we lose some palatability from the fresh bait and freshly applied bait, but even over a period of time, it's still palatable to the target cockroach species. And actually, when we tested it against a number of fresh products from competitors, the comparison is very impressive. And, 2-year-old Advian was as competitive with 7 of our competitors' fresh products. So, some were better, some were worse, but certainly, it held its own against a number of competitor products that were freshly applied. So, that kind of shows you that in the worst case scenario, where the bait is aged and for some reason it's been down for some time, it's still highly palatable. Not that we'd ever have a scenario where you had bait down for 2 years, but it was worth doing the trial to show the level of palatability and also the effectiveness of the product over a couple of weeks, couple of months, couple of years, to show that the palatability stays and it will still be eaten by the target species cockroach as and when they come across it. And as I say, as I've already mentioned, you've got a 3-year shelf life there. So this is, this can give you a bit of confidence that it's a very stable formulation with a 3-year shelf life. So from an application point of view, it should always be working really, really well and be highly attractive at the point where you apply it. So we've taken the worst case scenario, which is we're left with very old spots of bait, and we've been able to show that it's competitive and the cockroaches will eat it. So let's swing that around to a slightly different trial where we apply fresh bait and we apply fresh bait against competitive fresh baits. And how does it work in that respect? Now, before we go any further, it's worth saying that you'll see some active ingredients in here that you may not recognize, and this is because it was a European study. So this has to be of use to not only me, but colleagues in Europe. So you won't see any trade names, but if you see an active ingredient name, it doesn't quite ring true. It's because it's a product that's probably very popular in Europe, but we may not see it, or we may not have access to it in the UK. So just to give you that information just up front. So, and this is a slightly different method of treatment. So instead of just giving the cockroaches the choice of food stuff and 2 active formulations, we actually give them the choice of everything. And then we monitor it over a period of time, and we work out how many visits the cockroaches are doing to the certain product, and we calculate that over a period of time. And what we see over that period of time is that Advion is very, very competitive compared to the other products. It's 5 times more palatable to some of the main competitors. The only 2 products there that you can see that came anywhere near two products, imidacloprid based. And so this wasn't done by us. This was done by a contract research organization, and they were highly impressed with the results that we received. And to put that in a little bit more context, when you actually categorize it, then this is what it looks like if you put it in a league table, so to speak. So there we are, Advion. If we take our results as 100%, and then you measure everybody's results against us, then as you can see, there is some clear distance between the way that our product performed in lab trials compared to the way that other competitor products performed when they were measured against our product. So you can see, thinking about what we said about it's a great product in sensitive areas, I hope this will give you a little bit of assurance that it's actually a great product in a lot of areas, and it's going to be highly efficient and highly effective for any of your treatments in any location. So don't be pigeonholed by that. The bioactivation means that it's great in only 30% of areas. It should be your go-to product in all areas, to be perfectly honest, when you look at the data and you take into consideration the benefits that we get from the likes of triple transfer and the bioactivation, the process that the insects go through. So to take that further, so we've gone from worst case scenario, we've gone to a like for like comparison. But I, as a professional pest controller, like to see field trials. I like to know that someone's taken it and used it in a location where I would probably take it and use it, and I can be assured that it's very nice to see what they say in a lab, but it's always worth seeing what happens in real time, in real life, when you take it into a real scenario. So that's what we did. So and this was done over the last quarter of last year and into the first quarter of this year. So this is very, very recent data. And if you've not been to Pest X, then no, you've not seen this data. So it is really hot off the press. This is something that we've done with an organization. And again, we've done it with a contract research organization, so not done by us, but done independently. And it's some product comparisons that we've done in Spain. And you say, well, why Spain? Well, in certain countries, it's a lot easier to find cockroach activity than it necessarily is in the UK. So, it means that the organizations are better set up to do the trials. And it also means that they've got a better chance of finding locations very close to each other that are very similar to each other. So, for argument's sake, this trial was done in Spain. And as I say, it's very, very recent data. And the sites themselves, were monitored over a period of days to check the level of activity. And when a number of sites were found all with a similar level of activity, then the trial began. And for those of you that do cockroach activity on a reasonably regular basis, then I think this kind of location, this kind of evidence, and this kind of site will not be uncommon to you. So it's a typical treatment site, a typical location, and typical cockroach activity, German cockroach activity, where we did the trial, and we did exactly the same with 3 other competitor products as well. So, and we've, very closely followed the protocols to make sure that, that the application rates were followed, and they were done in conjunction not only with a contract research organization, but a professional pest controller as well, to make sure that all the data that came through was as solid as it possibly could be. And just to give you the results of that trial is that concentrate on the blue line at the top, because that's the advium. Now, as I say, this is done independently. It's not done by us. So, we bring in a CRO, contract research organization, to support us with this. And after 6 weeks, you can see that, the blue line is quite efficiently and effectively in the lead there. And when it goes on to 8 weeks, then what we get is 100% eradication. And we don't get that with the competitor products. And we don't, now it may well be that if we carried on for 10, 12 or 14 weeks, we probably would. But in this particular trial, the only product that gave us full control over a certain period of time was the advium. So it was the quickest, it was the most efficient, and it was the most effective over a period of time as well. So yeah, we have brochures on our website, and this data is covered in those brochures as well. If you want further information, if you want any further information, don't hesitate to come through to me or any of the Syngenta team and have a chat with us about these trials, but also about the products as well, because that's no problem. So what we've got there, we've got, in a nutshell, we've got the target species, the unique aspects of the product, the tests that we've done in a lab to show that the product works really, really well, the tests where we've gone out and really put the product in a difficult situation that shows that it's come out on top and performed best in that particular location against the target species. So, we hope that what this gives you is a level of assurance and confidence, with your treatments, that these 2 products should provide efficiency and effectiveness with those target pests in your key treatment areas. So, because we've done a lot of work recently from a marketing perspective and a research perspective, then what we've tried to do is make sure that not only do we give you information and just tell you about it in presentations like this, but we've tried to make as many resources available to you as we possibly can. So it's not just a question of believe what I'm saying in this presentation and that's it. We've got some dedicated resources that we want to help, that will help you. But if you want to, they'll also help you with your customer as well. If you need to pass more information on to your customer about the product, about the process, about how it's supporting you in your professional pest control measures. So we have a dedicated website. So, and I'll give you a link to that at the end of the presentation, but you can just access that via the Syngenta UK website. So there's lots of information. It's completely dedicated to advium. There's lots of stuff you can find in there. We've got new brochures. They were available at PestX. I have copies of them, but they're also available on the website as well. So if you want more information, get the brochure either physically or download it. That's no problem at all. We can support you with that. As part of the process of encouraging knowledge about the product over the next 12 months, we've started to produce a number of articles. So they're on our websites, they're on our socials, a number of them featured in pest control news earlier in the year. So there's a lot of information that we're trying to get out there to re-emphasize the product, explain the bioactivation process, and to support you with your end user customer if you need any further information. And if you need even more information, you're always free to come back to us and we can support you with that. We've also designed some courses as well that have been available on the BASIS website. So those of you who are registered with BASIS, so it's a proof of concept thing that shows that there's a lot of interest in this kind of course and the advium process as well. So, that course has been well attended, and we hope to continue and do more work with courses to improve the knowledge of the product and support professional pest controllers. That may be available in different routes and different, you may not necessarily have to be BASIS registered to do that. But, going forward, we're committing to giving as much information as we can about the product and supporting again in that respect with CPD points or whatever. The product itself last year was put forward for an award, and that was in the food industry, and that was all around the bioactivation. So this particular organization in the food industry, which is New Food, the readers and the members and their board were incredibly impressed by the bioactivation process. And we didn't win the award, but we were nominated for award within the food industry, because the food industry recognized that bioactivation can be incredibly useful from a security point of view. So this wasn't our doing, it was put forward on our behalf. And it was recognized by the food industry, in an industry that steps out of professional pest, which was great. And it was nice to see that another industry saw the benefits of the security in the product. And so just to finish off, just a little bit more information just to kind of tie up what we've already said. We've got this favorable environmental profile. We've got in and around buildings, variety of use sites. We've got all these establishments. As I say, don't get hung up on it's better for sensitive areas than non-sensitive areas. I hope I've shown you with the data that it's actually fantastic for all areas. So, it gives you a good level of control and a good level of security. Similar with the ants, we've got information there, and you can come through to the website or come through to us for the brochures. We've got lots of data available at this moment in time. And it just finishes for me to say, thank you very much. Thank you for listening. The Advingels website the link is there. My email address is there as well. If you just want to contact me, go through the product, want some support with the product, we're always happy to do that as the Syngenta team, and any support we can give you, don't hesitate to contact us.
That's great. Thank you, Richard, so much. Really, really comprehensive covering of the product there. We've got 8 questions in the Q&A. We're over time, but I just wanted to...
Sorry about that.
No, you're all right. No, lots of information to go through, and I think it's going to be really helpful to everybody and a product that they can consider in their toolkit. But there's one common question regarding well, you mentioned it in there about it being, even after 2 years, when it's dried out and pretty old looking, it's still palatable, because a few of the questions are about that. So yeah, it's just to reiterate it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, like I say, I've been in pest control a long time, and when I first came into pest control, there was this feeling that if it's gone hard and solid, then it's it's not palatable anymore. And the cockroaches won't eat it. We wanted to test that, and we did it in a lab scenario, and we tested it quite efficiently. That we do know cockroaches will still eat it, and they found it quite attractive. And the same, if we consider silverfish control, and this product, the avian cockroaches used a lot for silverfish control in the likes of the Nordics. Again, it going hard is not an issue. It's still as highly palatable, and it's scavenged by the silverfish as well. So in both scenarios, with both target species where we can use it against those insects, we had a high level of palatability. Okay, it's not as good as the fresh bait, but it's still holding its own even against a number of competitors at fresh application.
So if a pest controller puts it down and they feel like it dries out quickly, there was a comment about it drying out quickly, especially in sort of electrical panels, things like that, it won't necessarily mean that it's not working.
No, it's still palatable. So like I say, it's not necessarily as palatable as it was when it was first put down, but if cockroach, we've shown with the data that it's compare it to competitor fresh bait, it's still highly palatable, and the cockroaches find it, then they'll definitely still eat it, and you still get all the benefits of primary, secondary, tertiary. That'll still happen. We don't get a reduction in those benefits either. The chemistry stays the same, so to speak. It's just it doesn't necessarily look as nice, but the palatability is still there, and cockroaches will still eat it. Yeah.
Great. Fabulous. With this, it's still 7 questions in there, but we are a few minutes over. So if you don't mind popping in and typing some of the answers for everyone to be able to see, you good with that?
Yeah, no problem at all. Sorry, I ran over. Sorry about that.
No, fabulous. No, don't you worry. You're talking to an expert of the same, so don't you worry about that at all. But thanks so much, Richard. Really appreciate it, and have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.